Hello, everyone, and welcome into today's edition of To The Point Podcast. Everybody's doing well. Not a great day of weather out there today, but lots to get into in the sports world. Lots to dive into. Shamus is going to join us today, as he usually does every Tuesday. Tomorrow, Cole McDonald is going to join. We'll talk about a lot of different hockey topics. We'll get into some baseball as well. I might even rub it in to him that I have been winning some bets lately, and he hasn't. So we'll rub that in. But lots to get into today. Me and Shamus are going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk some hockey. We're going to do our top 5 underrated NHL players right now. This came to me last night when we were thinking about topics, and I'm like, well, there's so many players that I like, and I watch a lot of teams that aren't mainstream, as you all know. Last night, I got to watching Vegas and New Jersey at 12 o'clock, and I was like, well, this is a new low. As I'm watching the Warriors kick the crap out of the Denver Nuggets. But there's a lot of players out there that I like, that are just really good players and could break out even more. Some of them are having good seasons, but I don't get talked about enough because they play in markets that might not get enough attention, but some really good players. We're going to talk about that. But I titled today's episode Miracle. And the reason I say that is there is a potential for a miracle to happen in the NHL this season. And it revolves around the Vancouver Canucks. I thought the Vancouver Canucks were done. I thought their season was over a long time ago. They crept back in a few weeks ago, but you see games in hand, and again, I am fickle. I am torn. I always say, look out for games and look out for these statistics that you can't quantify. What do games in hand mean? It means you have to play more games than your opponent, and you automatically think that's a plus. Sometimes it's not, because maybe you're not playing your best hockey at that time of year. And teams like Dallas, teams like Nashville had games in hand over the Vancouver Canucks, as did the Los Angeles Kings. But now we sit less than 2 weeks away from the NHL regular season being over, and a story that seemed dead. It seemed, like a Shakespearean love story. This was just not meant to be. Romeo was not supposed to meet Juliet. The Vancouver Canucks were not meant to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But as we sit here today, the Vancouver Canucks have 6 games remaining and are 4 points out of third in the Pacific, 5 points out of the final wildcard slot. And they put themselves in a much better position, defeating the Dallas Stars last night 6-2 in regulation, keeping them from getting 2 points. And Vancouver gets an Ottawa team tonight who lost to Seattle last night. They get Minnesota later in the week, but Dallas is going through a tough stretch where they have to go to Calgary, go to Edmonton. It's a tough week for the Stars. Also, the Nashville Predators are going to Calgary as well. So not an easy stretch for the teams that they're trying to chase. Now, the title of today's podcast, Miracle, will only be a miracle if they make the playoffs. If at this time next week they're sitting 4 points out, the story is a moot point. It's a non-starter. It's something that nobody will remember a week from now. Because Cinderella's the improbable nature of something happening only matters if you finish the job. You can only get an A on a test if you finish the paper. You can only get a sense of gratitude out of finishing a project, whether it's shoveling, whether it's around the house, doing whatever it is that the project in front of you. You only get great satisfaction if you have any kind of work ethic if you finish the job. Well, Vancouver has put themselves in a position where they can make the playoffs, where they can get in. Sometimes it's just about getting in. And they're in a position now where they are 4 points back of the Los Angeles Kings. I think that's their best road to the playoffs. They have a game in hand in the Los Angeles Kings. LA has 5 games remaining. And I talked yesterday about LA, how it looked like Vegas was going to be the team that caught them. We'll get to Vegas in a minute. But Vancouver has a game in hand. So maybe that part of this story will ultimately be their undoing because they'll wear out over the next 10 days. But they have 6 games left. LA has 5. LA has Anaheim twice. You like that. Vancouver's got some tougher opponents, but they do have Ottawa tonight. You have to play game to game. Last night they had Dallas. Dallas, a team who had not played since Friday, well rested, looked good. But Vancouver comes in there and they dominate them. Goals from guys you wouldn't really expect, like Jason Dickinson, Vasily Podkolzin. Brock Besser, coming off injured reserve, gets a goal. And they win a game without their captain and heartbeat of that team, Brock Besser. That's sort with Bo Horvat. So now they sit in the position you want with a chance. As a fan, if you're a fan of the Vancouver Canucks, of course you'd love this team to be in a comfortable playoff spot already. You'd like to be in the Eastern Conference where Washington can stink it up the rest of the way. It doesn't matter. They're in the postseason. They're playing Florida. There's not much to play for. You can lose every game down the stretch. You have to be ready for game one. If you win those early games, you're in a good position. For Vancouver, it's a battle to get in. But I think you'd rather be in this spot than be out of it. And maybe I'm wrong. If there's any Vancouver Canucks fans, let me know. You'd rather be in the lottery? Who are you picking? Who's the prospect that really is jumping out to you? I follow the top prospects list. You're going to be picking what? 16 to 18? Is there anybody there that's that interesting to you? Is there a player? Is there somebody dropping that's going to fall in your lap? It's not that kind of draft. There's going to be good players. But you'd rather compete for a playoff spot. You didn't fire Travis Green and bring in Bruce Boudreau just to be competitive. This Vancouver Canucks team has something that can translate into the playoffs. That's goaltending. You look around the NHL, there's a lot of teams I think are going to do very well that are really good. But how many goalies do you trust? How many goalies do you go and say, I trust he's going to win a series? There's few and far between. Is Marc-Andre Fleury going to start for the Minnesota Wild? Can Ville Husso step up for St. Louis? Can Jack Campbell stay healthy for the Leafs? Can Frederik Andersen stay healthy for the Carolina Hurricanes? Wait, Jeremy Swayman starting? You go through it. All I know about Thatcher Demko, in the history of his postseason career, he has a .955 save percentage in 8 starts. Small sample size. That's a whole series. That's more series wins than Tristan Jarry, than Jack Campbell, than Jeremy Swayman, than Jake Ottinger, than UC Saros, than Calvin Peterson. Do you want me to keep going? I'm just saying, Vancouver is not a great team. Their defense core is average at best. I like a lot. JT Miller is a great player. Brock Besser has a great shot, has that talent that can score goals. But this team getting in could be a problem. Because why did they have so much success in the bubble? If you remember that a few years ago, second round, game 7. They were that close to going to a conference final. Yeah, it was the bubble. I don't care. Last year was a COVID year. There's no fans. What was the difference? Vancouver has goaltending. If they get in, they could be a problem. Because a team runs into a hot goaltender, sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's just your netminders are better. There's series where goaltending is horrible, and it's just who can score the last goal. Pittsburgh and the Philadelphia Flyers come to mind. Those, whenever they play, that seems to happen. Boston and the Islanders last year in the second round. Goaltending wasn't great, but teams were scoring. Tuukka Rask was a leaking sieve, And Semyon Varlamov and Ilya Sorokin were getting different starts every other game because neither of them could make a big save to save their life. But we're in a shifting era for goaltending because you had the Brodeurs, you had the Jonathan Quicks, you had Corey Crawford. Corey Crawford's retired. Brodeur's retired. Jonathan Quick's a backup goaltender. Marc-Andre Fleury could be retired by the end of the year. We're going through a new wave where new goaltenders are going to have to create their own story. They will write their own narratives. They will create their own persona where they are known as playoff goaltenders. They are known as guys that can either get it done or fail to do it. But we have to wait for that script to be written. We have to rely on what little knowledge we have right now. What I do know is that Thatcher Demko in 8 starts in the postseason is very good. 955 save percentage. What I know about Calvin Peterson, if I look at LA and Vancouver down the stretch, Calvin Peterson's never played in a playoff game. Never started one. Is Jonathan Quick going to start? I don't think so. Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper in Arizona has 5 career playoff games of experience. He's won 1 of them. That's what we know. That's not his fault that he played in Arizona, but that's all I can base this on. Jack Campbell, 7 games last year against Montreal. Good, not great. A lackluster game 7. That's what we know. That's his body of work. There's no Carey Price in these playoffs. Vasilevsky is the outlier because he's written his story. He could continue to write it, add to his Greek mythology, add to his legacy. But how many set guys are there? Not many. Because it's just, well, we don't know with this guy. We don't know with it's all unknown. It's all, well, maybe he can, we don't know. We have to wait and see on who can deliver, on who's going to be the Marc-Andre Fleury of this next generation. Who's going to be that goalie that is just always in the postseason, always seems to have success? But I'd rather have Thatcher Demko, and I give the team that has Thatcher Demko a better chance than Jake Ottinger, Peterson, a lot of these guys. And I'm going to reiterate, Vancouver is not a great team. But when you have a goalie, you have a chance. Just to juxtapose it, let's say Vancouver, who has 6 games left, LA, who has 5 games left. If Vancouver finds their way into the postseason and they play the Oilers, who do you have more faith in? Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, or the Vancouver or Thatcher Demko? It's a non-starter. It's Thatcher Demko. Yes, you look at it and say Edmonton's a better team, top to bottom, than Vancouver. No argument. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are better than any player that Vancouver has. No argument. Darnell Nurse, I believe, is better than any defenseman Vancouver has to offer. But that doesn't mean Edmonton's going to win the series. Edmonton last year had 2 more talented players than the Winnipeg Jets. They get swept. Things can happen. These playoffs, there's going to be no Connor Hellebuyck. There's no Carey Price. Some of these guys that you're used to seeing deliver are not going to be present. They're late for class. They're not allowed into the bar. They put up that little rope. They can't get in. Now, Vancouver has started to play better as well. It's not just about goaltending. But I watched their game last night. I caught the second and third periods this morning. They're playing better structurally. Elias Pettersson is getting to the front of the net. That's one thing that I criticized him about his game, is that early in his career, he seemed to embrace the fact that guys thought he was soft, that he was a skilled Swede that wouldn't get into those dirty areas. He wouldn't get cross-checked. He hated that physicality. And for a while, in the bubble in particular, he just took it on the chin. He sucked it up. He embraced it. And that was a point of emphasis for him where that was just his game. He got to the dirty areas. You're starting to see that more. He's a skilled player, but you also look at the skilled guys. Matthews scores goals in close, as does McDavid. Braden Point lives there. Elias Pettersson should embrace that because that's just another place where he can do damage. Last night he scores his goal a foot away from the crease. He's standing there, tucks it home. Perfect, but he's engaging physically. He's going below the hash mark, and that's what you want to see from him. It's easy. It's easy to live on the outside where you don't have to take hits, where you don't have to engage physically, where you don't have defensemen ragging on you, even though it's way less than it used to be and it's easier. But nevertheless, today's era, it's easier to hang out on the outside. But it's those guys, it's those game changers that say, you know what? I don't care about that cross check. I don't care about that guy in my way. I'm going to go to the crease and see what havoc I can cause. What damage can I do here? It's like a guard. It's like a player in the NBA that is willing to go into the paint. Sometimes it's not you're going into the paint because you can't shoot. It's because, you know what? I'm going into the paint because I can do damage here. They can't guard me in here. For Pettersson, I view it that way. He's getting into the paint. That's just another place where he can score goals. Yes, he can score goals from the point. Yes, he can score from the hash marks on the power play. But it's also, what can I do here? Can I find a little crease? Can I create an office, if you will, in front of the net where I can do damage? I can poke home pucks. He's doing that for Vancouver. You're seeing guys like Vasily Podkolzin, who I like a lot from Russia. He's starting to produce. He plays hard. He plays tough. I just think the team has embraced this attitude of, why not us? We were written off a long time ago. What if we got to the playoffs? What if we do some damage? What a story that would be. The Bruce Boudreau of it all. Bruce, there it is. I just think this Vancouver team, different teams are going to have different mindsets at this time of year. Vancouver, it's about survival. You have to win every game. They have 6 games remaining. They have to go 6-0. No excuses. That's it. Because in the first 76 games, you put yourself in a position where you have to play like this down the stretch. Other teams, look around, every team in the East, Calgary, Colorado, Minnesota, St. Louis, they're in a better position because they won games. They won more games than you. They beat you in all likelihood. They were more consistent than you. But you're at 10 days left in the season. You still have a chance to get in. But you need help because you have a game in hand, and you need LA to lose a couple. You need to win, and they got Minnesota coming up, who are red hot. They're not playing great hockey. I'll add that lately, but they got Vancouver tonight. LA's got Anaheim, so that's kind of a wash. Although Anaheim, LA, that's a rivalry. I don't think Anaheim wants LA to make the playoffs. That's just reading into it. But those two teams don't like each other. I think they'll be playing hard in that game. LA then has Chicago. It's another easy matchup for them. They got a favorable schedule down here. Vancouver goes to Minnesota. So Minnesota will be the favorite at home for sure. But again, find a way to win that game. Minnesota is playing a lot of hockey down the stretch. Maybe you can take advantage of that. But LA has 5 games. They got Anaheim twice. They got Chicago. So they can play. Anaheim plays LA tonight and Saturday. The Canucks go to Calgary. They got Minnesota. So that's not easy when it comes to their schedule. LA, and then we go to the last week of the season. And let's just look at it here. Tuesday, next Tuesday. It's going to be LA. Are they off that day too? Yeah, they are. They got a lot of time off. Vancouver is home to Seattle. It's an easier matchup. You gotta like that one for sure. LA is in Seattle. LA's got a great schedule. They're in Seattle. So they got Seattle on a back-to-back after Vancouver plays them. But Vancouver does play LA a week Thursday. So potentially that could be a game breaker. That could be a defining moment because that's LA's last game of the season. Then Vancouver finishes their season at Edmonton on Friday. So again, LA, just to recap that, they got Anaheim, Chicago, Seattle, and Vancouver. That's what they got remaining on their schedule. Vancouver has Ottawa, Minnesota, Calgary, Edmonton, and I'm missing one in there. But they got a tougher schedule for sure. Seattle, sorry. But it doesn't matter. Maybe you'll get some help. Like I said, I think LA can be a tough matchup. So Anaheim can be a tough matchup because they're not going to want LA to win. They don't want LA to make the playoffs. They're a division rival. You hate that team. But it is a good – I've been talking about the NHL, and it's been hard. Like these next 10 days, I just want to get through it. Because I look at the schedule tonight. Flyers, Maple Leafs, no interest in watching that game. I get if you're a Leaf fan, you might. None for me. Minnesota, Montreal, I like watching Minnesota. But then again, what makes it more interesting is Carey Price is starting. So that piques my interest a little bit. Jets, Rangers, whatever. Bruins, St. Louis. That has playoff implications. St. Louis wants to keep – they're on a roll. I mean, they're just on a tear lately. Calgary, Nashville. That's an interesting game because Nashville and Dallas are competing for the wild card spots. So that does interest me. But I'm just saying the storylines are so few and far between because the East has been locked up forever. The West has been pretty well unlocked, but Vancouver has made it interesting with LA. I don't see them having enough cachet to catch, Dallas or Nashville, but you never know. Maybe it is the team they catch in the wild card position because Nashville and Dallas both have 6 games remaining as well, just like the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe they get a cold streak. I mean, Nashville, they're looking to bounce back because they lost to St. Louis 8-3 on Sunday night. So and they got Calgary at home. Calgary's coming off a back-to-back, but Calgary's riding high, fresh off a 9-1 win, a 5-2 win as they beat Chicago last night. So, but I'm just looking for storylines. Another one for me is watching, Austin Matthews is not playing tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs, his second straight game. I'm not worried about being a long-term injury. I think it's more precautionary, which is a good thing. They don't need to play him. I still think he's going to win the Rocket regardless. He's got 58. I imagine he'll play again this season. He'll get to 60. Even if he doesn't, that's not that big of a deal. I'm sure it is for some fans, but whatever. Kreider's got 50. So Kreider got to 50. Draisaitl's got 54. Can Draisaitl make it interesting in the Rocket? That would be more compelling for me. But you have a number of guys. Ovechkin's got 48 now. He scored his 48th last night in Colorado as they beat Colorado. So I expect he will get to 50. So that's 4 guys that will get to 50 goals this year. Can Kirill Kaprizov, who's got 43, or Connor, McDavid, can any of those 3 over the next 10 days get to 50 as well? Will we see 5 guys get to 50 goals this year? I think seeing guys in races, a bunch of guys get to 50 goals, that makes the story much more compelling. You have guys like Duchesne, DeBrincat, Tkachuk, Lindholm. They all have 39, so they're all battling for 40. Pasternak, Gaudreau have 38. So a bunch of guys might get to 40. Jason Robertson has 36 in Dallas quietly. If he could get to 40 in his sophomore season in the NHL, that would be a great story for that guy. The better Robertson, even though the one you hear about more is Nick in Toronto. But so that's the storylines I'm looking at hockey right now. Also, the Art Ross. McDavid is currently leading the NHL in points with 110. But you have Huberdeau, who has 108, so he's 2 back. You have Gaudreau, who's got 107. He's right there. Again, he's trying to get to 40 goals. He's trying to get to win an Art Ross trophy, contract year. Dangerous proposition for the Calgary Flames. Draisaitl's got 105. Matthew Tkachuk has 98. Crazy. The Calgary Flames, let's talk about Calgary for a minute. They deserve a ton of credit, and I doubted them more than anybody this year. And maybe I shouldn't have, because Matthew Tkachuk is my favorite player in the NHL. He's my favorite player to watch. He has been for some time. And later in the show, when Shamus joins, I'm going to reveal my favorite NBA player. I haven't really had a guy that I love watching since Dirk Nowitzki retired. I have a guy now. I'll reveal that later. But I know how good Matthew Tkachuk was, but last year it was all about him engaging physically, taking stupid penalties, and focusing more on the Zach Cassians of the world, if you will, and not about his high-end talent, his ability to finish around the net, and not only that, but just his high-end skill. And then this year they make subtle changes. They don't do a whole lot. They still have Markstrom, but he's on his second season with the team. They bring in good Branson, Zadorov. They got a big defense. And Daryl Sutter gets to implement what he wants to do. But you have Tkachuk, you got Gaudreau, and you got Elias Lindholm on one line. To me, it's the best line in the NHL. Every guy on this team might score 40 goals. Lindholm, who's the quiet one of the group, because Gaudreau's might win the Art Ross. He's got over 100 points. Kachuk's going to get 200. Lindholm's got 78, which might seem like small potatoes, but for a guy that in Calgary that was thrown out, he's just in Carolina, he's a guy that can't get it done. He's just a two-way center. He brings nothing to the table offensively. Malarkey. But he's got 78 points. He's going to have 80 plus. He's going to score 40 goals, all career highs. And I said this at the beginning of the year. He's the best player on the Calgary Flames. He just is. You watch him, the effect that he has on a hockey game. There's guys that they don't jump because they're not big point getters. Oddly enough, they were teammates, but Lindholm, Jacob Slavin in Carolina on the back end, these guys just play the game the right way. They make smart decisions. They're positionally so sound, and they're not given the fanfare. They're not given all the praise, but I think Slavin's the best player on Carolina. I think he's better than Aho. I think Lindholm's the best player on the Calgary Flames. He's better than Markstrom. He's better than Tkachuk's my favorite player. He's better than Gaudreau. But it's these type of guys are the interesting stories to me. And they're the game changers. They set the pace of the game. They set the tenor for the team. I think Lindholm, he was the guy who had a hot start. I think he had like 11 points in his first 4 games to start the season. He started off hot, and it really started a change in Calgary where they rarely let off the gas this season. It never looked like Calgary they looked in trouble. It never looked like, well, this team's not going to make the playoffs, or, they might be in a tough spot. I mean, case in point, I'm throwing out this stat more for my parents and the old school hockey fans that like this statistic. The Calgary Flames top line has the best plus minus in hockey. They're the top 3. Johnny Gaudreau is a plus 61. Elias Lindholm's a plus 57. And Matthew Tkachuk is a plus 54. Devon Toews and Cale Makar, a D pairing, are the next 2 on the list. Plus 52 Toews, plus 48 Makar. But it's impressive what this team has done. But again, you got to separate. It's like separating church and state. You have to appreciate what you've done so far. Yes, the playoffs will ultimately decide your season. But this season will mean something, because guess what? Johnny Gaudreau is going to get a salary more than you would have gotten after last season because of the regular season he's had. Because yes, he might not have as great of a postseason. We'll wait and see on that. But he's still going to get a good chunk of change because of the season he's having, because of the production that he's putting up. He's going to be in a position to get some cash. I don't know what that number is going to be. More than I would pay him, for sure. But would it shock me if Johnny Gaudreau this summer gets a 7-year extension at $9-10 million? No. Would I sign him? No. But there's people that will do it because they're desperate and they feel like they have to. I see our guest is on the line. He's wearing an odd hat. I guess he's now a Toronto Blue Jays fan. Thought he was a Dodgers fan, even though not really. Bring him in here, Shamus Fillmore. Shay, how you doing?
Good. Already throwing chaps at me, eh? I was looking for my TPP. Oh, you can't hear me?
We got you.
I can't hear you. 1 second. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, nice. I can hear you too. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Same thing happened with David last week, but then when Cole joins, it works. Anyway, I don't know.
It's funky with the settings. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately.
Yeah. How's the week going?
Great, man. Yeah, good week. Good weekend to recharge. I actually did end up taking Friday off, which was a rare occurrence for me in the season. So that was unbelievable. But other than that, just catching up on sports and kind of laying low before I take flight here. Less than 4 days, I guess now.
Right. Flying out of St. John or
flying out of the John. Yeah, I've never been to their airport. I can't imagine it's very big, but we'll see. Might be a little sketchy.
Yeah, I've never been there either. So you'll have to let me know what that's like. I was just talking about but the NHL, there's little storylines kind of because Vancouver, I talked about off the top, how they're kind of putting themselves back in the conversation. But yeah, I've been kind of watching point races, which I usually hate doing because I find that, that doesn't tell the whole story. But you have Gaudreau, who might win an Art Ross. He's going to score 40 goals. He might get nominated for the Hart. I mean, he's having like a contract season, out the wazoo. What's this season going to do for him? Like, I think it's going to obviously up his value, even if his postseason isn't stupendous. But I think it's going to be a good offseason for Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's playing like a Russian, really good in his last year of his contract. No, I think there's a lot of good things, but I see what you mean. Where I think you were coming on, you're talking about a 7-8 year deal where it's worth getting $10 million, which that it's not going to be Calgary. Calgary's got another big guy they've got to sign, and Tkachuk. I don't know. There's teams out there being like, we want the sexiest guy in the market, and they'll go out and pay him. And I mean, good for Gaudreau. Take all the cash he can. You had this great year. You're going to enter into the playoffs. I don't think you'll do that well, but maybe, there's my opinion doesn't mean a whole lot, I don't think. So, yeah, I'm not sure what, if you're Calgary, what are you doing right now? You saying goodbye?
I'm trying to win a cup, and then I tell them thanks for the memories. Unless it's reasonable, like
Thanks.
I can't pay him $10 million over 8 years. I can't do it. He's a great player, really good player, but he's too inconsistent for me. I need him motivated, and I need him. Even Kachuk, as much as I love him, would concern me on a long-term deal because he's a guy that is. I think he's a motivation guy. I think he gets fueled from people doubting him. He had a poor season last year, and giving him financial security, I don't love that either. If only the NHL was all 1-year contracts, I think that would make for great content, and it also, I think fuel players to play incredible.
Yeah, it would be something. Any chance that either of these guys take a friendly deal to keep their team competitive next year?
The way the NHL is going, I don't see it. I think it's hard to. You have an agent who's like, so Johnny, yeah, you want to hear their offer? He's like, yeah, I want to stay. Well, I'm not allowed to talk to other teams, but I've heard from different people. I haven't been talking to them, but I've heard they might have like 12 for you in Philly. Well, maybe we'll wait around and hear what they got to say. Like you said, there's a sucker born every day. I mean, what if Seattle signs Gaudreau just as a piece to start building a team that's competitive, as just a centerpiece for a few seasons to at least say we got a guy. Hey, players that are out there. Not only is Seattle a great city, but we have one of the best talents in the NHL on this roster. Come join our team. Let's build something special.
I could see that happening. It wouldn't be a full rebuild, but it would be, you're right, it would get people in the seats, which I think is important, obviously, for a new franchise.
Yeah, maybe he goes back to Calgary, but I have a feeling he won't be there because, I think Kachuk's younger. He brings more to the table, I think, and Gaudreau, I think, will just price himself out. But, I mean, they haven't had many blips all season. They've been a really consistently great team. I've kind of talked about how I believe Lindholm, Kachuk, and Gaudreau have been the best line in the NHL from start to finish this season. As the playoffs are 10 days away from the regular season being over, how much do you like Calgary out west? Like, do you like their road to potentially get to a conference final and further?
You know how I feel. You brought up my demons. No, I really like Calgary, but just their historical performance in the first round scares me a lot. The only thing that's different about those teams than this team is the guy who they have playing, obviously, between the pipes, and that's Markstrom. So if he comes out and plays really well, no doubt. I was surprised. I was looking at their stats the other day, and I was like, Rasmus Andersson has almost 50 points. It just never even appeared to me. Like, that's a sneaky guy who's having a really good year.
Right.
And, when they signed him, I was like, oh, this is a questionable deal. And obviously they saw something in that a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you look like Gaudreau's got 108 points. Kachuk's he's going to have 100 this year, which is crazy because he was, just a checking forward. And Lindholm's going to have 80 plus. And I love him. I think he's their best player. If I could pick one of the three, I'd take Lindholm over the other two. But they're good. Like, I like their path because they're going to win their division. Yeah. And I don't worry about Nashville and Dallas as much as I think you do. I think you look at those two teams, and I watched Dallas and St. Louis the other, Nashville and Dallas the other, or whoever the hell it was, Nashville and Dallas, St. Louis, and yeah, it was like one team that was a playoff team and the other was a little baby brother, and Lucy is pulling away the football every time Nashville tried to do anything productive. I think Calgary could do the same thing with Nashville in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, they gotta hope so. I think there's definitely some similarities, but there's also some difference between a team like St. Louis and Calgary. But yeah, ultimately it's just going to come down to who's got more grit, and I think Nashville's not scary, but I like their goaltending, and I like obviously Yossi on the back end as well. It's interesting though, like as you mentioned about Vancouver, like they're not even chasing a wild card; they're chasing the third spot in their thing.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I'm not gonna complain again about the structure of the playoffs, but like that's
Go ahead.
well, no, I just think like that's stupid that like they're skipping over Dallas and Nashville to take LA's spot, and anyways, but
I get it.
that's
Yeah.
my bit. How do you feel about that? Like you're okay with it?
I prefer 1-16. And you
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
What my dream scenario, Shay. And this would be a perfect TV product. They'll never do it because it'd be great ratings and be great for the sports. They won't do it. But 1-16, and there's a draft. So Colorado or Florida win the President's Trophy. They're on the clock. They get to pick who they want to play, but it's on TV. Like you get see Brunette. He comes to the table, or he's on Zoom, and he goes, "You know what? We want to slay the Dragon. Give us Tampa first round." Maybe it's a shot. Like maybe it'd be predictable, but maybe it's like we feel good about this matchup. Like maybe St. Louis might want to play Minnesota because they match up really well. They always seem to beat them. So maybe they're like, well, Dallas might be tougher, or like Colorado might be like, well, who do we really? Maybe they go east, and maybe it's Colorado against Pittsburgh or whatever. I just think that would make for great drama, great television.
That'd be unbelievable content to see that go on, and the fan base is just going nuts. Like if a Colorado was like, yeah, we're not going to take the cherry off the top. No, we'll take the whole Sunday. We'll take Tampa.
Yeah.
And then like, it'd be wild. I never heard that theory before from you before, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean that's 1-8 would be fine. I did this actually looked it up yesterday. Do you know who Toronto would play if it was a 1-8 matchup? Because I know.
Damn. It would be. I mean, I'm not going to cheat. I have it right in front of me, but they're 106 right now. Would they play? They play a Carolina or a New York?
They play Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. No, interesting.
Yeah, so they play Pittsburgh if it ended. Every other series, the only changes would be the middle series in each conference. So like the division series those would change from each, but the wild cards would be like the 1-8, 2-7. So those wouldn't change in either of the conferences. But yeah, so that's who like Toronto would play. So New York. With this scenario, New York would play Tampa, so that'd be a fun series too. But yeah, and I mean, is there any team that can throw out that excuse? Oh, we hate this setup. We hate the format. Is there any team that can really do that and get away with it?
The Leafs. Because they have the hardest division, and they're in Toronto, so everyone usually sucks them off and says, "Oh yeah, like oh you're right, like this isn't fair," or "Oh yeah, like that wasn't a cross check to the neck of Matthews." No, yeah, I mean there's plenty of people who could bitch and complain. Like for example, LA had a half decent year. They're not doing well right now, believe me, but they could lose out on a playoff spot because one team's going to beat them by a point, whether it's Vegas or Vancouver.
Vegas.
What's that?
Won't be Vegas. My God.
Yeah, Vegas. They're a topic for a whole podcast. We could do a whole breakdown on the year they had and what's been going wrong with them.
Yeah, I let's talk about Vegas for a minute.
Get it off your chest.
I watched some of that game last night.
Yeah.
Probably no surprise to you. Playing my Devils, so I had to watch some of it. I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's going to be mass panic in Vegas because They might still make it. I don't think so because they're in a tailspin right now. They can't score a goal to save their life.
Mhm.
Jack Eichel might be back in Buffalo because he's not in Vegas. I'll tell you that. Um, I just see. I think Pete DeBoer will probably because they fire coaches like they buy a Reuben sandwich. Like it's just every other day. Like they're just okay, go, like get out of here. But they got no money. They're gonna have all these. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be mass panic in Vegas for this team to miss the playoffs over Vancouver or in LA or in Dallas. If you look like that, that is craziness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they play Caps, Sharks, Stars, Chicago, and Blues in their last 5 games. Do you think
It's not a terrible schedule, but it's again they
got
lost
no
to
juggernauts?
last night.
Yeah, they had to win last. I think I agree. They had to win last night to make it easy on themselves, and they just totally bonkered it. Like I don't know how. I don't know how you look at this team and think like we got this stuff after losing to New Jersey. No offense, I know you love New Jersey. I don't know, Joe. It's going to be
because LA's got a pretty easy schedule. They got Anaheim twice, they got Chicago, they got Seattle, and they got Vancouver.
Oh yeah, they're licking their lips. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw the Blues in there. That's your last game. What if that comes down to it? You're playing the Blues, one of the better Western Conference teams, and that's who you got to play in order to get in. And they just don't have it. They don't have the stuff.
No.
What was I going to say? Damn. Anyways, lost my train of thought. I had another Vegas take, but it's not coming to me. Oh yeah, I was always going to say is that Vegas has been babied since they've been in the league. They've never missed the playoffs, 2 conference finals. They've literally been babied. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Vegas fans handle a missing playoffs and then whatever bomb comes in the offseason, whether it's trading one of their stars or getting rid of one of the guys who've always been there, a Bill Carlson, a Marshall Smith, someone like that. Yeah. So
I hope like it just panic. People don't go so that like me and you can go next year, watch a game for cheap. Vegas trip.
You'll be able to pay for it with all those golf wins you've been having. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, it's making it rain lately. Put that one to piggy bank. But I mean, Vancouver has got Ottawa tonight. They got Minnesota, Calgary, Edmonton, Seattle. So they got a tough enough schedule.
Rocky, yeah.
Yeah. But they I don't rule it out because they're playing hot right now. They're playing really well. But it's just nice to see a race. There hasn't been the Eastern Conference we've talked about. It's been on lock for 3 months. So that's really been a non-starter. Now, the most interesting storylines out East are, no surprise to you, Frederik Andersen's hurt again. No surprise to you, Jack Campbell. He might be hurt again. I mean, the guy is an ace bandage. And 34 is out again tonight. So it's mostly about injury scares or maybe just being cautious with different players going into the postseason.
Yeah, and we could probably hop into the Leafs, and then we'll probably hop into basketball after. But what you have this this reach, the 60-goal reach is it's right there. Is it a smart move to leave him out and leave that off the table and just rest him for the playoffs? Because as of right now, I'm pretty confident we're still going to get home ice advantage. Maybe I haven't checked the other 2 schedules, but as of right now, I think we can get it.
Yeah, I mean, you got Philly tonight. If you can't beat Philly without Matt, they'll beat Philly tonight. I think they'll win 5-2 tonight without him. There's an early prediction for you. FanDuel. But I think they'll win. So they got Philly. I know they got Tampa Thursday. So that's the big game. Yeah. Tampa's got Long Island tonight. Then they go to Florida. So they got that Tampa swing again. I think Matthews will play again before the end of the regular season. I think it's probably, maybe he plays one of the 2 in Florida. Maybe he plays Saturday night. Just to get back in, or you could play next. I know they finish against Boston a week from Friday. But to be quite frank, I could give a shit about 60 if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't care.
Me too.
Kyle Dubas is the nicest guy ever. Sault Ste. Marie, all that nice stuff. But I don't care. Like, if Draisaitl passes him, I don't care. Like, it's about the playoffs. I think he'd say the same thing. It's like, as much as I hated seeing Clayton Kershaw get pulled from that perfect game and it bugged me, I understand it in a sense, even though it's April and the season ends in October in baseball. Hey, the season ends in June. It's April. Like, this is it. Like, you're playing for Tampa next week, 2 weeks from now. You're not playing for a regular season trophy that you could win next year. So it's about health, and he might win the Rocket if he doesn't play a game again, quite frankly.
Wow. I love it. No, I hope so. I agree with you. I think he will be back for those couple warm-up games, but it doesn't bother me one bit if he doesn't reach 60 or if he doesn't play another game, because I think the team can kind of keep on a glide like they have been. Like, they didn't play without him with the Islanders. I thought they played fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Campbell, I don't know. What do you think? Like, he played good against New York, but then you're right, he's back hurt, and he seems to always be on and off all the time.
Yeah.
As a guy who's going into a contract year, it would scare me to re-sign someone like that, because you just know you're not going to get consistency.
Absolutely. No, there's no way he's getting more than he's not getting more than the Mrazek deal, because
yeah.
I think they'll try to move Mrazek in the off season, obviously, but that'll take some sweetening. But I think they'll get it done. But he hasn't proven that he's a $5 million goalie yet, to me.
Mm.
And if he has a great postseason, that's where he can earn his money. If they can go on a deep run and he's a great goalie, then he will get that change, like Binnington did after he won a cup. He'll at least get a 3 to 4 year deal where you get some security. But if he loses in the first round and he's average, and after every game he's saying, "Oh, it's my fault. It's not the guy's fault," and he's doing the ass grab like Tiger Woods, after every bad shot he takes. Well, I'm looking elsewhere, and I'm trying to get Ilya Sorokin from the New York Islanders.
I would. No complaints here.
He's having a quiet, really good season, Ilya Sorokin, because the Islanders have just been an afterthought. But Lou, I'm sure, wouldn't want to trade him to Toronto, but for the right price, you can make any deal work.
Yeah, I agree. And on the other hand, I think he's the goaltender for the future. I think they'd move Varlamov away, or he might even be done this year, and you try to lock him up for as long as you can, because I do think he's a quality starter, like you said. And you've only seen a little bit of him too. It's not like he's been in the league for 5-6 years. He's been in the league for like 2.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that's the one thing, because he's every other start, it seems like, he can't go because his back hurts. And I'm like, well, in the playoffs, it's not like the NBA where Celtics Nets get 18 days off between games. Like, you play every other night. You play Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, it's not like, okay, well, my back hurts, I can't go. Can we schedule it the third? No, like, you're playing tonight there, big boy. And Shalgren, or Jerry Shalgren, our guy, is not going in there. Like, if he is, it's talk about mass panic. Leaf Nation is just going to be, throwing things at their television.
Yeah. I love to see a Shalgren meltdown in the playoffs. I'm kidding. I don't. No, shout out. My family's going to that game on Thursday, actually, so I'm pretty jealous. Yeah. But I'll feel bad if Matthews doesn't play, because he's a big reason why we watch. So it'll be interesting to see if he. Yeah,
Mom and Dad are going to the Florida game Saturday.
Parkland or Fort Lauderdale. Is that where it is?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale. So
gotta love it.
They're going to that game. So yeah, little Florida connection there. But. Yeah, Flyers tonight. I mean, they got a 6-point lead, so they're in a good spot to get home ice. That's all you can hope for at this point. I don't think they're going to catch Florida, because Florida's on a tear themselves right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're since they lost the Leafs the last game, they haven't lost a game.
No,
they've won all 10.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive, I guess, to end your year. Like, you're already having a great year on top of that, and you just don't lose.
Before we go to basketball, Did you do a top 5 underrated players?
I did, yeah. I had time to get one ready. It's a little sloppy if I didn't have the time I would like to research, but I've 5, 6 guys, I guess, that I think they don't get talked about enough for sure, especially in
Okay.
our markets.
I don't really have like a 1 to 5, but I threw
Okay,
a
me
couple of
neither.
guys
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you'll name one, then I'll go and we'll go like that.
Okay. Yeah, one guy from San Jose who, yes, they suck, but he's having a great year, leads them in points. Timo Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
He's one guy I just, I was looking up one day. I'm like, holy crap, he's got 33 goals and 40 assists in 70 games. And he's probably one of the only reasons to watch that team play is because
Yes.
he's just so good. No, he's a talent. Obviously, he's part of that great 2015 draft. I think he does a lot of things well, even besides offensively. But yeah, just because San Jose stinks and they're not getting the airtime most networks will give them, I still think he's one of the most underrated players.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, he's a guy. He's a really skilled player, and with him and Hurdle, they have a chance. That's all you can. They got to build. Obviously, find a goalie because Optimus Ryan is not the answer there. But I like that one. I went with a former Maple Leaf, another guy out west, Trevor Moore. He's having a really quiet, good season for LA. I was going to put him or Victor Arvidsson. I went with Trevor Moore. They're on the same line. They kind of have this, just pickup line on LA where they got Dano, who Montreal let him go, who plays with Trevor Moore right now, and Victor Arvidsson. But Trevor Moore went from a guy that was like a waiver pickup that was kind of the Leafs said, we can't afford you / we don't want you anymore. And he's kind of found a home in LA. He might get to 20 goals by the end of the season. He chips in, he back checks, he plays hard, and I like his game. I think he can be a good third line player and have a great career doing that. So I think he's an NHL player. He's established himself, and I like myself some Trevor Moore.
Yeah, I was happy. Obviously you hate to see him go when we got Muzzin back, but that was ultimately the best thing for his career because he was never going to move. He was never going to move laterally for the Leafs. So to see him go and play on a team like that and obviously have success if they make the playoffs this year, I think that's huge for the LA organization. And for my biggest thing is if he does it again, if he has another great year next year, and then I think he's established himself as a quality top 6 guy on that team.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another guy
for
you.
Yes. Yeah. Another guy. Okay. I have Braden Chen, which he does get some love, I guess, but I still don't think he gets enough because he's been consistent every year. He's been in the league. He's a 20 goal scorer at least. And, he's not going to have a point per game every year. He is this year, basically. He's 57 and 60. But he does a lot of other good things, plays well defensively. He always, if it's a dirty hit or if he doesn't like something, he'll drop him. Like that's the type of player he is. So he's a quality, I'd say, second line center. He's playing on a really good team this year where offense just seems to be, they're chucking it around like I don't even know, like a friggin' Frisbee out there. So good for them. St. Louis is having a great year, and he's a big part of that.
Yeah, I was kind of looking up St. Louis too because I got a St. Louis player on my list. And yeah, he's having a great season. Like you mentioned, that whole team just everybody seems having a great year. I mentioned Justin Falk yesterday. I watched that game against Minnesota. I think he's playing great, Justin Falk. He's playing physical. I've never seen him play better, and it's good to see because obviously that Pietrangelo move was a tough one to see him go, and then Falk was brought in. He looks good. I'm not saying he's better than Pietrangelo, but he looks like a good fit right now. This guy is my guy. He's one of my favorites. Robert Thomas. He's got a 13-game point streak right now. I thought next year would be his breakout year, but he's having he's going to get to 80 points this season. So he's still learning how to score. I think he needs to shoot the puck more, but this guy could be an easy 90-point player, I believe, because he can get 60 assists because he's going to do that this year. He's a great passer. Tarasenko is benefiting. They're both benefiting from playing with one another. but he's smart. I think he's one of the best passers in the NHL, and he's just sneaky good at just the little things. So Robert Thomas for me, and he plays in St. Louis. They don't get a whole lot of airtime in Canada, but he's having a great season. And like you mentioned, that team is firing in all cylinders heading into the playoffs.
It's crazy because that team, you get lost in guys because so many of them are doing so well offensively.
Yeah.
Like
Barbashev's
there's like
got 25 goals this year.
It's crazy, and like you just throw a dart on that board, you're going to end up with a good player. They've got 3 solid lines. That's why it makes that matchup between them and Minnesota so intriguing, because how is like Minnesota may be able to shut down 2 of those lines, but they're always going to have at least one scoring threat on one of their lines. And yeah, no, I totally agree. Thomas is having a great year. I think as a Canadian, and St. Louis, obviously, like you said, doesn't get a lot of casting time. I think they'll get more because they have like this young Canadian star to kind of rally around.
Yeah.
And I could see Thomas being a first line center on that team probably in as close as 2 years from now.
And I could see them getting more run in the playoffs because they do have a lot of Canadian players. You mentioned Shen. Thomas is from Ontario. O'Reilly is from Ontario. Bennington, I think, is an Ontario kid.
Yeah,
Parayko. Yeah, like when they were in the finals, they got a lot of talk because they had a lot of Canadian content.
Absolutely.
And so I could see them getting more focused as we get into the playoffs.
Another guy I have on my list. This is going to pain me to say because of the team he plays for, but Brandon Carlo from Boston.
Ooh,
this guy is never gonna have more than 20 points. He's hurt a lot, but he's hurt because of the way he plays. Blocking shots, being physical in corners, clearing in front of the net for his goaltenders. And as a guy who watched 2 7-game series where Brandon Carlo was a part of that as anybody, I can contest to say that he's a physical force. And he's never, even more so now that Hampus Lindholm's there, he's never going to get talked about as much as, say, a McAvoy. But he does a lot of really, really good things well. And he's just up there for me. I don't think he gets talked about enough being a quality defender.
Yeah, his compete level is always top notch, and like you say, he'll do whatever it takes to win the shift, to get the puck out of the zone. He's just a really smart hockey player. To add on to your point with that type of player, I had Devon Toews for Colorado, and he plays with Makar. So I think that he kind of like Mark Mathot. I'm like, he's better than Mark Mathot. He is smart. He jumps into the play, even though he plays with one of the most skilled players in the league. He's just he's a good skater, underrated skater, and I like his game a lot. I just think there's not many things he doesn't do well, and he's another one of those Jacob Slavin type guys I look at and say it's rare that he makes a mistake when he's on the ice.
Hard to believe he's almost a point per game defender, and at the same time he's like playing power. He's on their PK. He's he's just unbelievable 5-on-5. That's a good pick. I never even thought, he never even crossed my mind, but yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And he gets the Hedman treatment where it's like, oh, who's playing with Hedman tonight? Doesn't matter. Hedman's on the ice. Same goes with Makar. So he deserves a lot of credit. I think he does a lot of really good things well.
Yeah, no, he's a skilled, he's a good player. Who's the next one for you?
I saved my best for last. I think we're gonna have the same guy.
Okay.
Our teammate thing, or maybe not. Maybe you think he's starting to get the credit he deserves. But 4, I have Nelson from the Islanders. Leads in the points this year. It was unbelievable in both playoff runs in the last couple of years for them when they made it to the conference finals. This year they needed scoring. He has like almost 35 tucks this year, which is a career high for him. And he's a warrior on both ends of the ice. Like he just does a lot of really good things well.
Yeah, he's a great player, really, really, and he's a great playoff guy. Like he's been great the last number of years, and honestly, New York didn't have the year they wanted, but he's still having a great season.
Yeah,
I threw Troy Terry in the mix because he's got quiet 36, might get to 40, but he plays on Anaheim. They stink, but they're young. I think they're going to be fun to watch eventually, maybe not too far away with Zegras and Terry and their young nucleus, Jamie Drysdale. Yeah. So, but Terry has got a great shot. He's got a knack for getting to the front of the net, and he's just a pure goal scorer. I think he could be a 30-goal scorer. He could be a DeBrincat type guy where every year, like, that guy's got 40 goals again. Like, how did he get 40? I could see Troy Terry being a guy added to that list where, like, holy crap, he's got 35 again, at the end of the season, and you didn't hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and especially on the back half of this year where they've traded everybody. They're whittled their team down to almost nothing. And he's still playing really well. Like that's a true testament of how being a superstar player when everyone else around you is not doing well.
So who was your last guy?
Your boy Jake the Snake Slavin on Carolina. I still don't think he gets enough credit because the only place that gives him enough credit is Twitter. Honestly, Dougie, I go on Twitter and people just love this guy. I think some of the real hockey minds, but. No, I mean, he's got 40 points this year, but the points don't matter. It's just everything else he does with his game. Just unbelievable, whether it's breakout passes, whether it's like just making the way he, I guess, traps a guy coming around. Like, when a guy's coming around the boards and he just gives him space and keeps his stick in the right spot the entire time. Like, that is just, I don't know, just things like that just make his game.
He's a goalie straight.
Like Freddie Anderson
or better.
Yeah. Anderson must have been like, this is what defense looks like. He wasn't getting that.
I had Cody Ceci, and now there's Slavin. Boy.
Yeah. No, he's right there.
I was gonna put him on my list.
Do you think he's getting the right attention?
Well, I thought it'd be kind of cliche if I put him on there because I talk about him all the time. So I went with a youngster in Vancouver. I went with Vasily Podkolzin, who I like him. Power forward. He's got 14 goals now in the season. He's a first-round pick, was a late first-rounder for Vancouver. He's in his rookie season coming over from Russia. I think he's going to be a player. Like, he can score 20, 25 goals, plays tough. He's a physical body. And I think he's going to be an important piece. They've whiffed on some first-round picks, wingers. Jake Vertanen, top of mind for me. I don't think he's going to be a miss. I think he's going to be a good player. I like his game already, and I like his compete. Vasily Podkolzin is going to round out my underrated players.
I think he's got the Troy Terry vibe too, where he's not having a great year. Maybe this year, maybe he won't have another great year next year, but at some point he will hit. Yeah, I believe so too. He's really, really good. I remember watching him in the World Juniors for what felt like 5 years in a row. A little sus. And he was talented in all of them. I mean, he was captain in basically, I think, 2 out of the 3 years he played. Yeah. So he's going to hit eventually.
I think he's only 20. Like, he's a young guy, so he's going to have time to blossom and to get better. So, that's good hockey stories. You got Leafs, Flyers tonight. You got Vancouver, Ottawa, which is an important game for Vancouver as they try to catch LA. Has got Anaheim. So some important late night games tonight, which I know you probably won't be up for, but I might have to catch a bit of them. Let's pivot to the NBA. We'll talk Celtics in a minute. But I texted you last night, and I told you that I have a new favorite NBA player. And I haven't really embraced a favorite player since Dirk Nowitzki because I don't hand out that easy. Kachuk, it took me some time for me to really say he's my favorite NHL player. Really, in football, I find it hard. Clay Matthews is my guy forever. I like Buda Baker on the Cardinals, but I don't know if he's necessarily – I'm still waiting there. But I have a new favorite NBA player, and you wanted 3 guesses to see if you could guess who it is. So I'm going to give you the floor, and if you get it, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah.
To kind of take us through your guesses and why you're guessing certain.
Oh, I got to do a deep dive too.
Just for the fun. Yeah. Just for the fun, the psychology.
Okay. Yeah. I guess the first one, I mean, you talked about him quite highly. He also plays for Dallas. So, I mean, it's no surprise. Yeah. He does a lot of things well. He's always smiling. He's happy to be there. He seems like your kind of guy. Is Luka Doncic your new favorite player?
It's a good guess. One of the reasons I texted you this last night is because I thought you'd pick a Dallas Maverick because they were playing last night. So it was a little reverse psychology. But no, it is not a Dallas Maverick. But I do like I like Luka Doncic a lot, but it is not him.
Okay. I thought maybe that's why I had to get a couple other ones. Is this guy? I mean, you talked about him a lot this year, but it's rightfully so. You know, he could win Most Improved Player. Is Jean Morant your new favorite player?
It's not John Morant.
No.
I like him a lot. He's a human highlight reel, but and he's extremely fun to watch. But no, it's not Ja.
Okay. This guy, you've had his name and the MVP kind of close together all season long. He had a really good first game against the New Orleans Pelicans. Is Chris Paul your new favorite player?
No, it's not Chris Paul.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, I thought maybe I was like that's a little late to start liking a player who's been around the league for 15 years, but
long for the league.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
This guy's a young player.
He's still young. Okay.
Still real young.
Like 23 and younger?
Yes.
Does he wear green?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. It's not the guy I was thinking of. I was going to say it's Jason Tatum, but
no. I can't pick a Celtic. Come on.
Oh, come on. You can.
He does sometimes wear green, though, depending on the jersey night, what they want to wear.
Damn. Throw me all kind. Okay, Western or Eastern?
Western Conference. High draft pick.
You're gonna have to give it to me. I'm blanking.
He's a kind of a throwback.
He's kind of a throwback.
He's not based on the 3-point shot.
It's not Jaren
Jackson. He shoots them, but it's not his biggest emphasis of his game.
It's not Jaren Jackson Jr.
Good guess. No.
Oh.
Wing player. Small market.
Oh, they make the playoffs.
Yep.
Oh, they did make the playoffs. Oh, gosh, I got to know this now. I'm going to check the teams, and I'll make one final guess. I have it up right here.
They're up in the series. The team that he plays on is winning the series.
Oh, is it Bogdanovich?
No.
Oh, I thought Utah maybe. Oh, it's Cat. No, it's not Cat.
It's not Cat.
It's Anthony Edwards.
It's Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards is my new favorite player.
Sorry for everyone listening. That was embarrassingly long, and that's a name I should have had down fourth on my list.
I love him. I watched the Minnesota some this year, not as much as I should have, but I did watch them some. But I watched the first playing game and the game one. He had 66 points. The guy is so confident. Like, he's not afraid of anybody. He's just like, okay, come at me. Like, I'm going to take this shot in your face. I'm going to knock it down. Cat's a great player. But he's 20 years old. He's already the best player on Minnesota. And they go to Memphis, win game one. I like that he's willing to shoot the two. He's going to get better at shooting the three. I think he can be a real game changer in the NBA and a game changer for that franchise that's been MIA for some time now. But yeah, Anthony Edwards is my new guy for a while now.
The Ant. I love it.
The Ant. Yes.
Yeah. He is an exceptionally good player to go out and put 36 in your debut. That alone is impressive. It's basically like, you're right. He didn't care. There was no worry in the world. He's going against arguably one of the best guards in the league in John Morant, and it didn't faze him one bit. And the reason they won that game, in my personal opinion, is because there was guys who scored, did really good things, but they were just able to break down Memphis's defense. Which Memphis has been staple all year, being a really, really talented defensive team on top of great offensive weapons. But once you're just going back to back with offense, the T-Wolves basically proved that they could handle them, and they handled them like fine.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything. Like you thought they'd have the converge, and then Edwards would just pull up, make a shot. Or D'Angelo Russell had a terrible game. He was 2 for 11, but he made a clutch 3 with like 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. It was a big shot that really put the game out of reach.
Yep.
But like you said, the paint, normally Memphis dominates. Ja Morant had a tough time scoring. He got in the paint, they just converged on him. He couldn't do anything. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. had 7 blocks, which is crazy because he only played like 23 minutes, but because he was in foul trouble. But I was really impressed by Minnesota's just their fight, that they didn't give up easy buckets. You mentioned they play tough defense, and they're obviously a 7 seed, but I think this is going to be a fun series. I think this is going to be a long one, and I wouldn't rule out Minnesota winning this series.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it in prior pods, and I've and I have Memphis in 7. I'll stick to that right now. I still think they can get it done, but I said Memphis doesn't have a lot of experience. They don't have a lot of guys over the age of 30 on this team, let alone playoff year. And just kind of like I said last week, like Cat had a really good game, and Steven Adams, he had 0 points. He was a non-factor in this game.
I don't know if they're going to be able to play him. He can't keep up.
Cat is he's all over the place. One minute he's out at the 3-point line, the next minute he's in your face posting you up. So you're right. You needed someone who's fast and is going to be able to run that. So I'm not sure what they'll do.
Yeah, that was a fun game this weekend. Your Celtics, crazy game. Oddly enough, the first buzzer beater playoff game in Celtics history, which I could not believe. They played 286, and it was their first one. They've only had 5 in franchise history, which is also crazy. One of them, Big Baby Davis. But that's another crazy stat. But what were your big takeaways from this game when Celtics Nets game 1?
To see Jason Tatum roll around Kyrie, out of all people, Kyrie score that bucket must have been the greatest feeling in the world. I don't think I'll ever relive a high like I did Sunday afternoon. Oh, that was nice. No, I mean, a lot of good things to take away. I thought Al Horford played phenomenally, 20 and 15. He was an X factor in that game, and their big man, mind you, Claxton did have almost, between, I think, 13 points maybe. He played pretty decent, but for the most part, Al Horford was able to control the paint with any guy who was down there. I didn't think KD played particularly well, especially in the beginning. I think he has a major bounce back game. I think Brooklyn wins game 2, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
But as much as I hate Kyrie, I love seeing the fans get to him, but they don't even get to him because he almost had 40 points. It felt like he had 3 over 3 over 3 in the fourth quarter. Like he is just one of those players that's ultra talented, and nothing phases him, which is even scarier. So a lot of kudos goes to him for being just, hated in that barn, but still playing phenomenal.
I don't know if I've ever seen Kevin Durant guarded as well as Boston did in game 1, because
I agree.
Tatum played both ends like LeBron used to in his prime, where LeBron just had the energy where he could do it both like offense and defensively, because Tatum was in his face the whole game. Smart played his ass off. He played extremely tough. But they were difficult shots. Like, that's just in the NBA. Yeah, he's still 7 feet, but if you're around him, if you're bugging him, it's going to be a tougher shot. And I think Tatum, Smart, you mentioned Horford. I thought he played tough. Like Boston, it was just a difference. That last play, there's no way Boston should have scored, because it was a broken play. Smart didn't know what the hell he was doing. He's like, holy shit, I can pass in here. Kyrie's looking at Paige Spurnack in the top row, probably. I don't know what he was doing on that play.
Yeah.
He's just standing there, like, looking. Like, there's a guy right there. Oh, Tatum, the best player, has got the ball a foot from the basket. I guess I'm just going to let that happen. It's one of the only mistakes he made the whole game, but it's night and day the difference between Celtics and Nets and how they go about playing defensively.
Absolutely, yeah. Like if it wasn't for Kyrie, that game would have been a write-off. There would be no need for a first buzzer beater in the history of the Celtics. It would have been
right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely. And shout out Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus, my boy Smart. just
I told you he'd win it.
ultra talented. You did call it. I'll give you that. You did call it. I thought there was a couple other guys who might be up there. Robert Williams did get some love, but ultimately, yeah, Smart had a good year. And 25 years since the last guard. I mean, that's crazy.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah,
I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's a little biased on the big guys, I find.
I thought Tony Allen would have won one throughout his career.
Should have. He was talented.
Yeah,
Talented
especially in
defensive
Memphis. When they like 1 year, I think they were 1 or 2 seed in the West. I don't know how he didn't. Like, he was a great defensive guard. Like, Kobe, when he was still living, talked about how Tony Allen was one of his toughest matchups and how those battles were so tough.
Yeah. Yeah, always giving it to a center or someone who's over 6'5", I guess. But yeah, I know it's nice to see. I mean, obviously, Smart doesn't get recognized for a lot of things, but being a great defensive player, he'll never no one will ever question that ever again.
Are you okay with Kyrie giving the bird to the Celtics fans?
Oh, okay, as in I'm gonna go upset and throw a hissy fit. No, I'm not. I mean, it's whatever. Like, you find them, and then that's it. Like, that's you just kind of get over it. Like, you don't think the Boston fans love seeing Kyrie give them the bird? Like, we're talking about the dirtbag fans of the sports universe in Boston, and they probably thrive on the fact that they got under the skin Kyrie so much that he was giving the bird and doing whatever he was doing when he was inbounding the ball, and the crying face, and they love that. They love the fact that worked, but ultimately it didn't work because he still.
It didn't work. I'd be like, just give him like the golf clap, like, just because yelling at him, the guy was out of his mind. He wasn't missing a shot.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting though. A lot of birds being thrown around. Ryan Hartman, Kyrie Irving. Jesus, she got to start a club.
I'm just glad we didn't hear about Boston crowds calling him something else. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, they're known for using that word.
Yeah, that's what I mean by dirtbags. Like, they'll go to the lowest of the lows in order to get under somebody's skin. So yeah, I'm glad that wasn't brought out. I'm sure it was probably said, but it wasn't released clearly.
Yeah, that was a great game. Let me throw, before we go to the Jazz and what that was last night. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I want to throw this theory by you. So Minnesota, obviously, Anthony Edwards, my new favorite, but they might not win this series, but I still think they're a team on the rise. They got D'Angelo Russell, they got Cat. And I look at a guy like Damian Lillard, who might went out of Portland, and normally it's like, well, he'll go to the Knicks or he'll go to Lakers. It's got to be a big name, but he's played in a small market forever. But Minnesota's surrounded with really good talent. What if Lillard was traded to Minnesota? Wouldn't they become a contender for a championship right away? They'd have to give up some pieces, obviously, but they wouldn't trade Ant-Man. I don't think they'd have to give up. I think they could give up Russell, Beasley, some picks because Portland is going to tear it down. I think it's a potential landing spot for Damian Lillard this summer.
Yeah, and I mean, this playoff run, like you said, if they beat Memphis, I mean, it's like, okay, well, this team's, they came in the 7th seed, they won, they're playing, and they've obviously played really well. They have some competitive drive, and they have some new juices in Edwards, who just, like you said, is just explosive and can be an offensive threat. If Lillard, even if he toned down his numbers a little bit and said, okay, I can mess with these guys if they want to, if they want to be competitive, and he'll get Cat, who's arguably a top 5 big man in the league, to play with, and his that guard duo would be unbelievable. Because Lillard's a great scorer, but he's a sneaky, really good passer. And he's always been, ever since he was in college. So I think that would be, I think that could be a location for him for sure. That wasn't my top of my mind, but yeah, I could see it happening.
Yeah, it probably won't be Minnesota. I'm like, if you're Minnesota, I definitely make the call, because I think they're close to being a really good team, being a playoff team that could do some damage, because they win game 1. Maybe it's a long way to go, but they game 2 tonight in Memphis, and Memphis got to win tonight. Big game for them.
Absolutely.
Tonight. Who's having the better postseason so far, Jalen Brunson or Jordan Poole?
Oh, that's a good question. thought you were going to say a different name. Jalen. So what did Brunson have in the first game?
I think he had 30,
Mm,
maybe 28, but he had a good game, and then he dropped 41 last night.
yeah, I'd say Brunson because there's no Donich there. He's the focal point of the team because if
Yep.
he's not scoring, they're not winning. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's him, and the fact that they get another win and they beat Utah without Luka is that's all on him because you could easily say, oh well, Jordan Poole's having a good, he's had a great playoff run so far, but he's got 3 great players surrounding him.
Right. Yeah, Brunson. If you're Utah,
Pathetic.
the fact that that's a split and Doncic did not like that. That tells you everything you need to know about Utah and just the backbone of this team or lack thereof. You had it on a silver platter. You could at least win a round. You might, and I think that's the 4-5 matchup. That is the 4-5. You'd probably play Phoenix. Okay, lose that series, whatever. But at least you win a round. At least you have that. But now, I think Dallas is in the driver's seat, even though Utah has, they have home court. If Doncic can come back, Dallas is winning the series for me. I just think Dallas will find a way, and then Dallas and Phoenix would be the much better second round series.
Yeah, people would tune in to see that too. Western teams, 2 teams that have ultimately great talent. Donich and Booker. But yeah, it'd be an interesting matchup. Either way, I think if Phoenix gets there, they're beating whoever's in the second round and get to a conference final.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. Utah, I've had a lot of hope on them this year to maybe pull it together like a lot of their guys, but yeah, they're not looking great.
How real are the Warriors? They blow out Denver in the first 2. Are they getting closer to being a real contender for you?
Yeah, they're shoving it up my keister. I really thought they're going to blow it up, but no, I mean they look great. And what's even more impressive is Kevin Looney played 11 minutes last night, so they played small the entire game, and somehow still managed to play seamlessly together. I think they're getting pretty lucky in the fact that there's no Murray on this Denver team. But I mean, you gotta play with what you got, and that's 3 unbelievable players and Curry, Poole, and Klay Thompson. So keep going with them. And contention wise, I think that's gonna be tough. So if they win this series, they're gonna play
Memphis or Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not not.
I think they'd be favored in either matchup.
Yeah, it's not an afterthought to think they get to a conference final, but it'll be interesting. I'm more intrigued because I didn't have a lot of, like I said, I had Denver winning in 5 games, so you can show how much faith. That shows you how much faith I have in these guys.
Yeah, they'd worry me because Poole is a stud. Dropped 30, and he's a guy that's going to make some money. Because I think his first contract's done. He's eligible for an extension this offseason. I don't know if that's going to be for the Warriors because I'm not sure they're going to be able to afford him. He's gonna play himself to be a star, a co-star on his own team elsewhere likely. But he's good. He's good. He's not afraid to shoot. I like him a lot. But yeah, I mean the Warriors look good. Sixers take the first 2 over the Raptors in dominating fashion. Do the Raptors have any hope? They're banged up. It hasn't looked good for them.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I'd love to see them win a couple games, but no, it's just going to be tough. Embiid looks like he found his game. I thought first game was okay, a little shaky maybe. Now I think he found his game in game 2, and I think he's going to continue to roll with that. They just have nobody who can guard him, if we're being frank.
Right.
If anything, Toronto needed to win that first game in order to make this competitive. Now It's just it's done. And no Scotty Barnes, I get it. He's a rookie, but he does defend really well, and he'd be able to give you valuable minutes, especially if you're playing a 2-on-1 with Embiid, he's the guy I'd want on that.
So as we look to tonight's games, who do you got? Hawks, Heat. Who wins tonight?
Is that even a question? I think Trae Young has a better game than he did the first game, not scoring 10 points.
It's hard to play worse.
Yeah, I get, yeah, true. When you're out there at the bottom and start the top to keep going down. No, I still think Miami takes that one. What about you?
Yeah, I got Miami. T-Wolves, Grizzlies.
I think the Grizzlies can make a comeback here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be another good close game, but I think the Grizzlies will find a way to eke it out tonight. Pelicans, Suns.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a 10-point game in the last game, so it wasn't like it was totally thrown off. But
Chris Paul in the last quarter.
Yeah, 30, 10, and 7. Like that's not a 36-year-old stat line that you usually see very often. No, I think the Suns take it pretty handsomely.
Yeah, I agree. So we got the same picks tonight. Obviously, you're going to your trip on Saturday, so you won't be on next week. What are you looking forward to in the trip? You downloaded any movies? What are the plans for the plane and stuff like that?
Plane, I'll listen to a lot of podcasts. Probably listen to a lot of you. For being honest, I need to catch up on some things. Great podcast, by the way, with David Sampson last week. I was really impressed with the questions, and he was a great listen. Yeah, catch up on pods, music, and I watch. Believe it or not, I watch a lot of sports when I'm down there because you usually get back from the beach, you're tired, you just kind of wind down, you throw on the tube, and it's one thing about the States, they always have different channels for whatever. So sure, be watching a lot of ball, and then into probably playoff hockey for, well, maybe not, I guess. Yeah, I'll probably be back before playoff hockey starts, but still, just following that down to the wire because that'll be interesting, especially with Vancouver on LA's heels.
Are you gonna download or maybe watch before you go the movie that I've been telling you to watch? Untitled.
Yeah, I mean, I probably rent it for sure. Yeah, it'd be a nice little watch. An hour. It's only an hour and a half. I was looking at it last night, so it'd be a quick watch. Maybe in the airport, you're just sitting there. Be good movie to doze off to. So, yeah, it'd be good. I'm excited.
I still don't know what it was.
You rewatch it?
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
You just haven't. Okay.
I don't know if it was good, if it was bad. It was Nick Cage. That's what it was. It's actually a great Community episode where, if you haven't seen Community, folks, great little half-hour comedy for you. Where Abed takes a class and they ask the question, is Nick Cage a good actor? And it basically makes his head go into a tailspin. But it's really interesting. But that's how I felt about this movie. I don't know. What I took from it is really funny how he says it, "Where's my pig?" And yeah, but you got to see it. You got to see it.
I'm gonna give it a watch on your recommendation, and we'll see.
I might actually go to a theater this week. I haven't been to a movie theater in 2 years. I might go see The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yes, yeah, movie. That's I think we watched one of those together. Did we not?
We did. We saw the last one in theaters. Yeah.
So, yeah, terrible what's going on with Johnny Depp and that trial and everything. I know we don't like to talk too much about that, but the fact that he should be in these movies and he's not because of that is just bonkers.
I totally agree there. Taking advantage of our guy, my guy at least. I know him.
I'm glad we're both on the anti-Amber Heard. So
this podcast is anti-Amber Heard. Anybody wants to know where we stand? It is anti-Amber Heard.
Yeah, I got to make that one
guy. Johnny Depp, best looking guy on the planet. Anyway, Shay, have a great trip. Well-earned vacation for you and Kennedy. My best to the couple, to the happy couple getting married, and safe travels. And we'll see you when you get back.
Yes, I'll let you know when I land. I appreciate you, and can't wait to listen to you over things. Maybe send me a golf pick once in a while, eh?
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, get to a book down there. Don't look for the bookies on the beach though.
Okay, sounds good.
They come back with hats. They don't come back with an IOU.
Oh yeah, I'll avoid them.
Yeah, no. Well, take care and have a good trip, buddy.
Thanks.
There's Shamus Fillmore, everybody. Great to talk to Shay, as we do here every Tuesday on the podcast. he'll be back in a couple weeks as he makes his way to Florida for a vacation. His aunt is getting married, so have fun to Shay. Tomorrow, Cole McDonald's going to join me. We'll talk about a lot of NHL stories. We're going to get into some baseball as well. I didn't get to talk about baseball much the last couple of days, but some interesting storylines in early season baseball, kind of teams to look out for, things of that nature. So we'll get into that tomorrow with Cole. So hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Great times as always. Stay healthy, stay safe, and this